I was 10, he was 8 years old when we left Hemina. We came to America and we said goodbye to everybody, and we were sitting waiting for the car, for the horse and wagon to take us to the nearest train. We were going to Cherbourg to go to America. We're saying goodbye to everybody, waving goodbye to everybody, and all of a sudden comes the rabbi, and he says, "Stop. Your son broke my," he hit him with a stick. "That stick cost me money. I want you to pay me for that stick." Just like that. My mother looked at him. She definitely understood money with her. She had enough money with him. So, but she had to give him money. He would not let the horses move until we paid him for that stick, because he used to get probably, I should tell. Would you ever believe anything like that? That everybody knows his work that he did for Torah Masorah. My brother Sender, yes. He gave his life, half his life at that. So I just want to tell you something that happened. It's funny, you might get a laugh out of it, but it took an awful lot out of me. He was going to Israel to visit my father, and I said, what could I send my father that he would want? He doesn't eat canned stuff. He doesn't eat cooked stuff. Challahs I'm not going to bake for him because they won't be fresh anymore. What could I do? And I was wondering like this, this is the honest truth. I got tired of talking to myself, and I laid down and I fell asleep. And I dreamed. My mother came to me, and she says to me, "Hensche, was ist dann nahe? Mach dem Taten, Lokshen." Oh, Lokshen. I never thought about that. I woke up, and it's not it's a dream. I said, why didn't I think of Lokshen? He loves soup and Lokshen, and he won't buy it because he won't eat anything bought. So I get up, I take out my board and the rolling. I said to myself, I'm going to start making. How much should I make? 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups. Anyway, I made Lokshen for at least a month, I think. Yeah. And what should I tell you? My brother Sender comes to pick up my Lokshen. I tell him how important it is. Don't worry, I'll get it for him, and so on and so forth. Anyway, he's in Israel for a week, and I still did not hear from my father to say thank you for the Lokshen. 2 weeks passed, no thank you for the Lokshen. When 4 weeks passed, I got already a little, and I said, by that time he was on his way back. He says to me, he never got it. He said, I left it at the airport. He said, on this desk. He had so many things to do. He had so many calls to make. He had some that he forgot about the Lokshen. Well, I started to cry. I really did. It hurt me so that I put in so much work and so, and he never got the Lokshen. He was a normal child, there's no doubt about it. But as he grew up, he became smarter and smarter and smarter, and worked for every institution that he was in Torah V'das, Torah V'das. What else could I tell you? There's nothing more I could tell you. I sit here and tell you all about it from 10 years to now. All I could tell you is this, that we do miss him terribly, and he was a wonderful human being, and we were like twins. We got along beautifully together. And he's gone for so many years. What could I do? It's very sad. It really is sad. And it's the fact that he's gone 30 years. I think about it, can't believe it. Can't believe it. A full life in those, you could see in those 60 years what he accomplished. I don't think anybody could. How many schools he started before the academy, and what the academy is today. I still have this picture of giving Orly in kindergarten when she was graduating. Her whole life was the children, every one of them. Kamiku, Gilliku. It wasn't just Kamiku.
Lily.
Oh, yeah. If he needed any advice, he didn't go to Kamiku. He went to Gilliku, though. That's what he told me. Gilliku is the smartest of them all, he said. He had a wonderful sense of humor, and he was able to get away with it beautifully. He was brilliant. His talking was brilliant. Everything that he did was brilliant. That if Jersey fell in love with him the first time, he was terrific. He was a terrific speaker. And they asked the questions. She was the first one to get up with a question. You know, she wanted to make sure he sees her. It was a question period after he spoke.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. The history. You could write a book about it. And after this, and before this, and whatnot.
Well.
What could I tell you? Yeah. It's a lifetime. To lose 5 brothers and to still sit here and talk about it. So we miss him terribly. We talk about him. I have here a very good friend of his, Goldenberg, and we talk about him all the time because they work together at Tormasora with him. And anything he comes across, you know, something that he wrote, he shows it to me. We'll never forget him as long as I live. I'm 2 years older than he, and I'm 95 years old, and he would be now 93. All I could say is that he should be a good educator for Inshallah. We need a lot of refuahs, and all the Kankas should have refuahs, and halavai, halavai.
We were very close, Sender and I, in Tervadas, and all through and then Mr. Mendelowitz in 1948 in Tufshin Ches, and then Term Sir started, and we both walked out from Tervadas to Term Sir. Okay, so Lemaisen, and there's one thing, there was a difference between the two of us. I was the guy who gets scared sometimes, and Sender over Shalom has guts. I'll give you one example. Here we start Term Sir in 1945. Okay, so in 1946 or something like that, Mr. Mendelowitz goes to see the very famous rich guy from the Syrian community in Brooklyn, Shalom. Very famous rich guy. To get money for Term Sir, because they Term Sir, it's money. We don't have besides Houston, we had no balabatim as such. He goes with Lynch, which is his son-in-law. Erev Yom Kippur. Doing that classic example of your father. Yeah, just the two of them. So he goes there, Mr. Munzer goes there, and he talks to Shalom about Terem Sir, and Shalom talks about the Jews in Morocco. So he talks about the fact he opened an office here in Wall Street, Broadway. So he talks about the Syrian, Sephardic Jews in Algiers. Okay, Mr. Munzer talks about Terem Sir. So at the end, Mr. Munzer says, I want some money from Kippur. So Shalom sits down and writes out a check for Terem Sir. So Mr. Mendelowitz takes the check that he wrote out for Terem Sir right there in the office, in Shalom's office, and tears it up. Mr. Mendelowitz tears it up. You worried about the Sephardic Jews in Morocco and Algiers? You give me money for Jews in maybe in Wisconsin or something? How does Sender come into this? The difference between Sender and me is a classic example here. I would never think of leaving Terem Sir, but Sender did. It's a short period in Sender's life, but it was a very, very important period. It was Sender who went to Morocco, and Sender went to Algeria. He started out Zera Torah, the famous Sephardic network of schools, for short 3 years. Didn't know where to Israel, whatever it is, but he walked out from that situation. He had guts, Sender had guts. We're talking about the differences between the two of us. We're great friends, right? We loved each other, we hated each other, but he had guts. There was no shy about it.